Do you feel that in a time when we are more connected than ever, we are drifting away from real human connections, especially to ourselves? I do. Hi, I'm Leticia Latino, and I want to invite you to join me and my very inspiring guests in exploring ways to reconnect to your essence, to your definite purpose, to what makes you tick. Are you ready? Hello and welcome to a new episode of Back2Basics, Reconnecting to the Essence of You. I'm your host, Leticia Latino, and I want to wish you a happy summer. So here's the deal. As I was planning more and more interviews to bring you out, I started to notice that it was getting harder to schedule people, and most of the responses were, let's chat after the summer. And then it dawned on me that I myself am about to go on vacation. So it occurred this was a great moment to first of all take a break and also to have an episode about why don't we all take a break. And I started doing some research, and I've always known this, that the US is the country in the entire world that takes the least amount of vacation, if you can believe that. In fact, now that I was preparing for this episode, I found a report from the U.S. Travel Association. It's called State of the American Vacation, and it's quite interesting. And it might blow you away that in 2017, 52% of Americans reported having unused vacation days at the end of the year. That's the majority of us that live in the States are leaving unused vacation on the table. It is crazy. I mean, I'm not one of those people. If you know me well, it's historically. I never been one that has left any vacation on the table. Might be the European side of me, but I've always actually pulled off quite an impressive amount of vacation somehow, because it's always been against the odds. But I think it's important to mention this. My parents actually over this weekend just celebrated 50 years of marriage. That might be a whole episode on itself about marriage, and I will interview them on what they want to share to all of us that are married and how to stay married. But one thing I can tell you, my parents always made a point of going on family vacations. My dad has his own company, and even then he would somehow ship us out to his home country in Italy for the summer and find the time to reconnect with family and find the time to be together. And this is something that has stayed with me forever, basically, in growing up, and that I'm trying to replicate that with our kids. And I'm very lucky that my husband is supportive of that. And we try to always find a way of going on vacation, and if we can travel. I'm going to be honest. I don't need a lot of money in the bank. I much rather have the experiences and the memories, because those go with you no matter what. No one can take away a memory that you make during vacation time. And I'm not saying you need to go traveling all the time. That would be nice, but just even, staying local and doing something fun. But, I want to hit you with some statistics because I think that's important. And I myself was quite shocked. Besides what I share with you, that most of us in the U.S. are not taking our vacation, when you add all up in 2017, for example, which is a little bit dated, but these reports, they always run like 1 year behind, there were 705 million unused days in the year of 2017. That's 705 million unused vacation day. That actually represents $62.2 billion lost in benefits. What does that mean? It's like if you're employed and you didn't take vacation, that basically means that you gave your employer a donation of $561 of your salary back to them. That was your right to take the vacation. You were paid for that. But if you don't use it, you're basically donated back to your employer. Insane. To me, it's insane. But also, people see sometimes taking vacations as lost time, but to the economy, it represents an opportunity of $255 billion that are lost, that the economy is not capturing, and that could have generated 1.9 million jobs. So I'm sorry if I'm going to dwell on statistics for a few more minutes of our program today, but I think it's important because I have the report in front of me. So it's not just me making it up. I've known this for a while because anybody that has been exposed to European culture and how they approach vacation and how us in the US do it, we have long discussions about it. And for me, I've been 23 years in the US and I love this country, but it's the one thing that I definitely do not like is I feel trapped here in terms of work. People do not know how to stop. You're expected to be 24 hours on, and I just don't work well like that. I need to recharge so that I can give my best. And people here get to the point where they get to burn out and they don't recognize that need. And so when you look at the report and you read that 61% of unused vacation days remain unused because of a fear of looking replaceable, it's really daunting. 61% of people that don't use their vacation don't do it because they're afraid that they could be replaced at their work. I've always thought that if I'm good enough, my boss is going to know that, and that's why I'm going to ask for the vacation, and my boss is going to wait for me. So that certainty has always been within me. That fear has never dominated me because I know what I'm worth, and I know if I'm good at what I do, yeah, sure, I'm replaceable, but would my boss want to replace me if I'm that good? So if you have this fear, you have to let it go because it's not going to take you anywhere good. Then 56% think that their workload is too heavy, which in reality could be true because the expectations are really unrealistic. And the more we take on, the more the expectation is going to grow. And that's why it's important to stop, reset those expectations. 54%, might shock you. I'm not a pet owner, but I know that pets are an issue, and this is probably one of the reasons why I'm not a pet owner. But 54% don't go on vacation because of their pet. And don't get me wrong, I love pets. I think they're a great companion, but to not go on vacation, have a great time with your family or friends, or have a new experience because you don't want to leave your pet behind, is insane. So, I mean, I could go on and on. So there's also some valid, in my view, more valid reasons. The concern about cost of travel is 53%, but hey, you don't need to travel or to go to a fancy trip. The same report states that most of the U.S. national parks have not been visited by us. They are there. They have amazing facilities, and people don't go to them. People don't do domestic travel, neither. So that's quite insane. And this one, 52% don't travel because of their children. I've been told this so many times because my firstborn was probably 4 months old the first time I took him to Italy. And I honestly was doing either the trip there or the trip back, usually by myself, because my husband did have to go back to work. And, people would look at me like I was crazy. And our goal has always been our kids need to adapt to us, not us adapting to our kids. That has been a motto that has served us well because we are spontaneous planners. Like, we are very spur of the moment in terms of, let's just do this or do that. And one of our fears when we were thinking about having kids is, are we going to be able to do all that? And tell you what, you are able to do all that. My daughter was not even a year old, and we took her on a cruise in Northern Europe. She went up to Russia, and we were traveling. People would look at us like we were aliens. And tell you what, it's not going to be the same trip. It's going to be different, but it's going to be awesome. And what the kids, if you have kids, can learn from you exposing them to that kind of culture or something different from what they're used to is something that it's priceless. So absolutely, I would never put that as something that would stop me. I'm about to do it next week again with the two of them on my own to Europe. And, yes, I sometimes get a little bit anxious. Everything, needs to go well. And what if this happens or the other thing happens? But don't let your mind get to you. Just go and do it. And, I could still list reasons, but if you want a reason why not to use your vacation, you're going to find one. But the important thing is what's making you happy. Maybe you're someone that doesn't want to do anything. You enjoy more to go to work than maybe staying home to watch movies, even if you don't want to travel. I mean, I'm a big fan of lazy PJ day at home, even if I'm not doing anything else. But then again, we live in a country, if you are in the United States, where the same report shows that 62% of employees say that their company discourages, sends mixed messages, or say nothing about vacation time. Of course, they win when you don't take your vacation. Are you kidding me? I mean, of course, I work for a family-owned business, so my situation is a little different now, and people remind me of this often. But there was a time where I wasn't working for the family business. I was young. I didn't have that much experience. But again, there was something within me that I knew what I was worth. I knew that, when you give your all and you do a good job, it's really hard to replace you, even if you do take the vacation. So just to tell you a little experience, back in the day, I was working for Nortel still, and our boss was asking us. We had a big meeting, and people, were working a lot of overtime. And our boss was asking us how could he make our lives better, if we had any ideas, because he knew, we were all working so hard and a lot of overtime. And, I raised my hand and I say that to me, more than getting overtime money, I much rather get work comp day, which meant, exchanging the overtime for vacation time. And he asked if anybody thought that was a good idea. And no one raised their hand. But I knew, because I had spoken with some of my friends, about that. And I knew there were other people that were in agreement with me. But no one put their hand up. So there I was, vulnerable and afraid that now, I open my big mouth and I'm going to get in trouble. And guess what happened? My boss said, well, since she's the only one that thinks this is a good idea, she's the only one that's going to get that benefit. I couldn't believe it. So, I went on a long vacation. My family has this tradition to go to Sicily, where they're from, for the summer. And I managed to get probably 4 weeks out, and people were telling me that I was crazy, blah, blah, blah. And I went and came back, and my job was still there. And you find the way, guys. And I'm not saying that you're going to leave for a month and, and you're going to push your luck, but don't leave unused vacation on the table. Just use it for whatever it is that you want to do. So visualize what you want to do. Use summer as a reason to refresh yourself, to gain energy, to reconnect with what makes you tick. And be honest and true to yourself. And find activities that maybe you love to do and you stop doing, and just go back to basics. For me, that place is going to Sicily and by the beach and just recharging. Now, an interesting fact that this report showed was that there's this new term that is going on around. I had never heard it, but I have done it. And that's how I take long vacations. And basically, it's called a workation. And what it is a proactive decision to travel somewhere with intent to work a regular schedule remotely. With connectivity as it is in this day and age, we're always checking our email anyway. The chance that you really disconnect and just forget about work, it's slim. So for me as a business owner, the workation is a good option because a business owner can rarely completely disconnect. If I don't pay our employees, they don't get a check. So that benefit of like, oh, let's just forget about everything and go on vacation is really not that available for some people, and I understand that. But at the same time, when people ask, how do you go to Italy for a month in the summer or, a month and a half, and doesn't it everything like crumbles? And well, first of all, you have to know how to delegate. But today, with your laptop and your connectivity, you really can be on top of the really important things. And this is where you need to prioritize what's important. And there's really a handful of things that I focus on when I'm away. And I always joke around and tell people, listen, it's either I go and I find my way to be efficient with, the time zone difference. I'm 6 hours ahead. So I really can fit in chunks of efficient time, like a couple of hours in the morning, couple of hours in somewhere in the afternoon, and then at night, I stay a little bit later and do my conference calls that are really important when the kids are already in bed. And mind you, this is the kind of vacation, this is a family home, so it's not like I'm need to go touristy thing and go checking out monuments. It's really I'm working from home, away from home, and to me it's very efficient, and I get my glass of wine and I chit chat with family members that come in and out of the house while they go to the beach. And in the era of Airbnb and so many facilities that we have now where you really vacation or we vacation in a different way, there's so much more house rental that we do now in comparison with before, that you can have a setup in which you can do a little bit of everything and just create a memorable experience for you and your family. So switching gears a little bit, I want to invite you to think about, again, what are you doing or planning to do this summer? Do something different to break the routine. For those of you that have kids, I know it's not easy because you have to think about, if you work, you have to think about the summer camps and picking them up and bring them back to the home. And it's just, for me, it's very stressful. But at the same time, all you need is a resolution that you are going to take time off. Once you decide that, I assure you, it's not going to be a money problem. It's not going to be, we cannot afford this. I don't believe in that. We live in Miami, the beach is free. Sometimes I take a walk and I see people that it is obvious they don't have a lot of means and they're eating McDonald's on the beach. And sometimes I say, wow, you need so little to really enjoy yourself. But somehow we create this idea in our mind that if we don't have the fancy vacation, if we don't have the big production, then it's not worth it to take the time off. And we need to change that. And moreover, if you're thinking that you cannot take vacation because you are afraid to be replaced, then you really need to rethink that belief, because the truth is you are replaceable. And again, it's not that I'm trying to push traveling, but I am a firm believer, and I have always been, that even a 2-hour trip, even if it's 2 hours away from your home in a some nice place, people that travel or take their vacation time to go on little trips or big trip, whatever it is, they show dramatically higher rates of happiness than those using little to none of their time to travel, or what, it's called homebody. And then, as one last piece of information that should convince you to take even a short trip somewhere this summer, is that people that take time to go on vacation somewhere are also more successful when they are in the office. Do you believe that? People that take vacation and go somewhere new and visit and explore are also the ones that are more likely to receive bonuses, raises, promotions, more than the ones that don't. This is statistic, guys. This is in the report. I'm going to put in the notes. So it's almost counterintuitive, right? Because if you're that guy that is afraid that, you're going to be replaced and that's why you're not taking your vacation, you're hurting yourself statistically because you're not recharging. Your creativity is not recharging. Your energy, your willingness. You need to stop and go back to basics. So I know I've been hitting it and hitting you with statistics, and I'm sorry because, normally I don't like to do that. But I believe that this is what I need to convince those of you that are listening to this and that know you're doing this, to break free from this way of acting and to take control. 77% of people in the US admit that they should be taking more vacation. 49% say they are concerned they missed an opportunity to relax and reduce stress. 47% also say they are not experiencing fun, excitement, and adventure in their lives. They're not making memories. It's amazing. A vacationless world gets to the very heart of why a lot of us are not feeling happy and excited in the first place. 85% of Americans report that seeing their child excited about an experience is reason enough to get away. 85%. So this is a moment of truth where I'm going to ask you, of all the percentages I've mentioned, where are you at? Which one of those percentages are representing how you are living your life, how you approaching your vacation, what you are doing with that free time that you have earned? Are you giving it back to your employer? Are you writing them a check of $561 because you're not using your vacation? Are you on the 85% that knows that your child would benefit from a little trip somewhere with you, but you're still not taking it? It is really a moment of truth. I know where I'm standing. I'm going on a workation for a month next week. It's challenging, don't take me wrong, but I'll do it. This is why I'm doing this episode, by the way, because I say, hey, now I have a podcast. I cannot leave everybody hanging. But then I thought, you know what? First, although I appreciate everybody listening out there, I don't think anybody is going to say, oh my God, I cannot live my life if I don't hear this podcast. I hope you feel that way and you feel excited, but I know you can survive even if we don't put it out until August. So it's really me putting the pressure. It's like, oh no, you have to have an episode every week. No, I don't. I don't have to have an episode every week. It's okay if I take vacation. When I come back, I will have thought of so many more people to interview and so many more exciting subjects to discuss in this podcast that the whole podcast is going to benefit from it. So we do it to ourselves. We think that we cannot take off. We think that we're so important in our company that it will not survive without us, that they cannot do the job without us, or that we're going to be left out of the loop if we go and then someone else is going to fill in and I'm going to be left out. So you have to take the courage to stand up and own it and think about that vacation or trip or activity that you've been wanting to do for a long time, even if it's a day at the zoo with your family, and just take that day off, one day, and go. A day is too much to ask? Take a couple of hours. Take an afternoon. Start small. I'm not saying go and do a month like I do or a big vacation. Start small with a few hours here and there, and then you start seeing that the office is not gonna crumble if you're gone. Think about what people like traveling to Europe, for instance. When you're there, people take time to have lunch. People take time to relax. They work a lot, don't get me wrong, but the just mentality is different. And during the summer, it's, if you go in certain parts in Italy during August, I kid you not, you're going to see the story saying we're on vacation and the time frame is like 15 days. Come back September 1st. Crazy, huh? For our mentality, it's crazy. And sometimes I get very upset when it's Thanksgiving here in the States and I see people working. It should be vacation for everybody. Or just 4th of July, it was just the other day. And I went somewhere and I felt bad because, they're telling you happy 4th of July and you see other people working. New Year's Eve, you go to a fancy place and someone is serving you. Those kind of things always get me thinking. But in any case, we know, unfortunately, someone's got to work at some point when you're relaxing for you to have that experience. But the important thing is to bring awareness. That's why I created a few months back, actually in January, the hashtag Time to Reconnect. That movement, it's all about disconnecting, taking a break, reconnecting with your loved ones, people you love, and just increase the awareness that we have that this is my time, this is personal time. As a matter of fact, in Europe, maybe you don't know this, but in Europe, there's some countries that there's already a law that prohibit the employer to write emails to their employees outside of business hours. Crazy, huh? Yeah, your boss cannot write you emails after 5 p.m. He can write them to you offline, but they have to be sent during business hours. I think it's a great idea. I think we need to respect our limits, our borders. We need to make sure our personal time, family time, and vacation time are more in the front and center of our lives. Because remember, there's only one life, and we cannot let it slip away. In fact, there was a famous saying that says, we travel not to escape life, but for life not to escape us. Is your life escaping you? If it is, this is your chance. Do something about it and make a difference in your life and your family life. It's been great to have this little chat with you all. Please leave your messages and comments in our Facebook or Instagram pages, Back2Basics Podcast. I would love to hear from you, what you're doing, what you're planning this vacation. And I look so forward coming back recharged, excited, and ready to tackle so many more interesting interviews and keep discovering together what makes us tick. I hope you have enjoyed this first half year of this podcast. I appreciate all the likes. For the first time, I'm starting to see reviews that in which I don't know the people that are giving them. I recognize that some of my friends were supporting me at the very beginning, but now I see some comments and I don't know who they are. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I promise to keep doing my very best to keep this podcast interesting and exciting for you all. And so now I'm shutting down, going on vacation, and what better way to do that than asking my daughter Emma, who's here next to me. She just came to interrupt this taping, saying, Emma, what are you looking forward going on vacation next week?
I like love and I like the kisses from Mommy and Daddy.
Okay, are you going to go on the plane?
Yes.
And what do you like about Italy the most?
We get to go to the beach.
Yes, we get to go to the beach. So bye-bye, everybody. Enjoy the summer, and let's come back fresh and ready to kick some you know what. Until a new episode in August. Take care.